By suing Kaceytron, Denims, and Frogan, he is seeking to target female content creators who are already and have long been subjected to misogynist and racist hate on social media.
While in the past I would certainly commend Ela for having a very creative style, often some of the outfit ensembles that Ela chooses feels very childlike.
So he can sate the bloodlust of his newfound right-wing audience and orbiters.
With also Teddy Fresh having a little teddy bear as a logo, I don't know, maybe it's interesting.
The many men Ethan has criticized: Adam McIntyre, Hassan, James Charles, Dan Clancy, Mizkif, iDubbbz, Ned Fulmer, RFK, Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, Dating and Money 101, Joe Rogan, David Dobrik, Sneeko, Bosch, Justin Bieber, Justin Baldoni, Elon Musk, Austin McBroom, Sam Cedar, Andrew Tate, Noah Sampson, Cody Cody No, Jake Doolittle, Jake and Logan Paul, Dan Bilzerian, Jack Doherty, KSI, Charlie Kirk, Pro Jared, Keemstar, Jared Fogle, Jeffrey Epstein, Steven Crowder, Jeff Whittick, Fresh and Fit, Jesse Lee Peterson, Jason Nash, Matt Rife, Jordan Peterson. Why does that sound wrong? Aiden 21. Ross, Russell Brand, XQC, Jonah Hill, Mitch McConnell, Sebastian Georgiou, Keith Rainier, Mark Elliott, Tim Poole, Kanye West, Netanyahu, Liver King, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Mark Zuckerberg, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, Dr. Phil, Ryland Adams. The list really could go on. My question is, why does nobody mention Ethan's comments towards the many men he has criticized and had plenty of back and forths with? Ethan is being painted as someone who targets women solely, and that's already just not true. I mean, by definition, being a misogynist is being specifically a woman hater, a hater of women. Andrew Tate is what comes to my mind when I think of a misogynist. Perfectly fits the bill. Okay, let's see how this one will get misinterpreted, shall we?
It is not intelligent to always jump to the worst possible interpretation of every bit of information that you've been presented with, especially when that information has not been presented in its entire context. And that's kind of like one of my main points, or one of the few things that I think sets my videos apart. You should always look at the whole situation. But remember when I said I knew why this was getting worse? It's literally because of TikTok.
So, you might be a little bit confused seeing a D'Angelo Wallace clip at the beginning of my video, but I found D'Angelo's words to be very accurate to what I'm also kind of noticing about this situation. It's almost like there is a misunderstanding Olympics going on right now. We're interpreting every action phrasing for the worst possible meaning you can think of, and it is kind of downright unbelievable. And I believe this is not only due to form of short content, but like D'Angelo said, also due to a new rising movement of people voting with their views. By watching cherry-picked snippets of a creator, you are going to get a very distorted view of what they're actually saying. Unfortunately for a lot of people, their first impression of someone is going to be in short-form content. And unfortunately, that also means someone has clipped them, probably in a hate-filled rampage. Not all the time, but it does happen. And that's why each and every clip I show you will have a video labeled, so you can actually go to the video, verify for yourself the extra context if you want to see it for yourself. There you go. Once your first impression of someone has already been muddied with some pretty heinous accusations, people decide that the creator is going in their burn book. They won't ever interface with the real arguments and the things that that person has said. They couldn't, because then that would mean giving them a view, and no one wants to directly or indirectly support a Neo-Nazi, Zionist, white supremacist, terrorist, loving, misogynistic, chauvinistic, pig, insert label here. Ethan Klein, as of recent years, has been accused of many heinous things. Genocide supporter, insinuations of being a pedophile, child abuser, neglectful, fatphobic, homophobic, transphobic, addicted druggie, racist. Yeah, writing it out, it really does seem like a lot, doesn't it? However, there is one thing that has been whispered on the internet for years. Only now is it really being taken seriously, kind of. Misogyny. Recently, allegations have spurred about Ethan Klein being a not-so-secret misogynist, and now his audience is also being called male, white supremacist, incel sexist freaks. Why has this happened? Well, it didn't quite start just now, but it really started to take off in 2025, maybe even as early as 2024. After running through the genocide and pedophile accusations, although I would say the pedophile accusations are probably a little bit more of a 2025 thing, people just had to find another way to attack H3. So, listen man, buckle in, it's just Ethan Klein's misogynistic world and we're just all living in it. Or is that what people want you to believe? So, first off, what I want to do is I want to establish the lawsuits, what they mean, why these people are getting sued, and what makes their, I guess you could call it copyright infringement, different to potentially what other people could have done. So first I want to get into why was Kaceytron sued, keeping in mind that it is now settled. If you want to skip the lawsuit section, you may. There are timestamps, you have my permission, but you might find that there's information you didn't know before. I don't know you. So, Kaceytron hosted what I guess you could call is a group viewing session on her Twitch stream where she had Ethan Klein's video running through the entirety of its content. This is also not the first time that Kaceytron had infringed on copyrighted materials, and it's actually a huge problem on the streaming platform, and I think in streaming in general, piracy or copyright, whatever you want to call it, it's a big deal I think on all platforms, and we'll definitely talk about it some more. So it is definitely mentioned in Ethan Klein's lawsuit against Kaceytron that her commentary when made was brief, surface level, and she admitted to being uninformed on the topic and subject at hand. I don't know how important that is when it comes to copyright, but I suppose it kind of makes sense. When I watched Kaceytron stream myself, she definitely spent a lot of time smoking weed and talking about how she wanted Mike from PA to react to it and see what he thinks of it. Multiple times she actually checked Denim's stream, Denim's is one of the people being sued as well, to see where Denim's was at. And she mostly said that she didn't understand what was going on. It was a really bad stream, and I can see how in a court of law, they might consider it a wholesale re-upload in a way, thus infringing on the IP. The mods of H3 Snark had advertised all three women's channels as well as a few others as one of the many avenues to avoid giving Ethan Klein views and thus preventing him from earning monetization off his own work. While maybe Kaceytron's lawsuit is about more of criticizing a lazy and poorly transformative restream of Ethan's original video, the other two lawsuits are more about outright market substitution, which is very important here. So, as it turns out, dummies, you can't tell people to not watch the original video, and you also can't tell people that if they don't want to give money to the original creator, then they can just watch you instead. That's a big fucking no-no. I was actually watching Kaceytron's own stream reacting to Ethan's video, and partway through, I actually forgot that I was even watching her stream, and I thought I was just watching the original video at one point. That's not good for Kaceytron. Anyway, as we know now, Kaceytron ended up settling in the lawsuit with Ethan Klein, of course, and a lot of people are going to spin this as Ethan Klein targeting a vulnerable woman, being a misogynist, using his millionaire fortune to backstab the creator community he came from. It's quite a mid-tier movie script concept, isn't it? I can see why people would feel bad for Kaceytron, as she posted a pretty lengthy tweet, and I think even multiple tweets, about how she grew up in a domestic violence situation, her whole family is disabled, and she is the one who has the responsibility, or has taken on the responsibility, to look after all of them. They all live together. It's a big whole thing, right? However, my sympathies are not with Kaceytron at this time. Kaceytron has been a streamer since like 2013, over a decade, and I would say a pretty successful streamer at that. She blew up with Twitch. Because of that, she should have made quite a lot of money during that time if she was responsible with it. Also, this lawsuit wouldn't have happened in the first place if she was better at obeying copyright law. So this isn't the first time that Kaceytron has kind of done some sort of egregious infringement, in my opinion. In 2023, Kaceytron was passed out on stream during a subathon, streaming entire episodes of Kitchen Nightmares.
Wait, hang on a minute. What's going on here? So you got Kaceytron asleep in the bottom right, okay? Doing a subathon, a tipathon, okay? Broadcasting Ramsey's Kitchen Nightmares to 334 people without any substantive transformation. It's live right now, yeah. This is live right now. In fact, I probably need to pause it because it might actually trigger content ID.
And it actually happened the day before my birthday. She was banned by Twitch due to her copyright infringement. And do you want to know what her response was? She tweeted saying she would do it again. And do it again she did. So, given Kaceytron's history with copyright infringement, I assume this was also a strength for Ethan's case, and I do actually believe Ethan when he says he doesn't want to rock the React community. The React and streaming community as a whole, I think, needs a good kick up the ass. Just because you can get away with streaming an entire series for now doesn't mean it's actually legal. The original IP holders for these series, such as Death Note, could very well exercise their right over their IP and potentially cause much more damage, perhaps setting a really punishing precedent in a legal case. As for Kaceytron, someone who has been making content for so long, she should know better, especially at her age. She's 35? But she tried to plead ignorance to copyright law as a defense? I have to let you guys know, not knowing is actually not a legal defense. Learn the rules and obey them. Interestingly, Kaceytron really did make no efforts in her stream to really push back on Ethan Klein's opinions, and I bet there's some points you probably could push back on. She didn't challenge Ethan when he said he's a big Palestine supporter. She just looked at the camera in a snide way. Again, that's not really commentary or transformative, believe it or not. On top of that, another thing that I noticed is that instead of pausing to talk, she would make comments while the video was running, because it was literally 1 to 2 words that would come out of her mouth, which is not nearly enough time to justify making commentary and pausing. But also, the lack of pausing, it's a problem. The only conclusion you can really come to is that she had nothing to say, nothing of value or interest to add to the video. I would actually go as far to say that her stream is actually kind of disturbing. It's kind of weird when you get to a point where she starts smoking so much marijuana, puffing up her lungs. She genuinely looks like a strung out drug addict.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. I know. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you look? You think
I'm not even joking. It seems like a serious problem. A lot of people say that marijuana isn't addicting, but I sincerely beg to differ on that one, especially looking at someone like Kaceytron. When it comes to Mike from PA, I couldn't even find a video of him reacting to it, and I wouldn't say he's necessarily good at reacting. The video that I watched of his was actually quite insufferable, to be honest. He sounds like a kid who actually always has to blow his nose, like he's like, I gotta blow my nose is full. I know that pretty well, because I get pretty bad hay fever, actually, so listen, if he gets hay fever, I feel you. I feel you on that one, actually. Mike from PA though, he doesn't let videos just play on their own. He actually does a lot of pausing, he does a lot of talking. I can't see him as being a justifiable case for copyright. He actually seems to know what he's doing, unlike Kaceytron. In my opinion, I think that the real reason that people like Kaceytron don't respect copyright and copyright infringement is because I don't think she's ever made anything creatively or of value herself. People like Kaceytron believe that they have some sort of, I don't know, they have some sort of right to other people's work, leeching off of other people's creative works and justifying it because they're already rich or some sort of drivel like that. Listen, I'm the sort of person who thinks philosophically, yes, stealing is wrong. However, if someone needs to steal a loaf of bread to support their family, to stop someone from dying of hunger, listen, that's none of my business, you know? None of my business at all, folks. But I don't think stealing someone's content and monetizing it in this way is the same concept here. Listen, I'll bet that Kaceytron justifies streaming full episodes of Kitchen Nightmares because Gordon Ramsay is a rich, well off-to-do guy, but so it's like, what does he care if his TV show is restreamed on some Twitch channel? And it's like, yeah, I guess you can have that approach to it mentally, but if you then end up getting done by the copyright holder, that could potentially have groundbreaking precedents that affects everyone. And who knows, maybe a lot of people agree with that kind of sentiment. I personally think that if your content relies on you siphoning original creators' works to that degree, that's an important distinction there, then I don't think you're a good creator, you're just a thief. People then aren't really watching for you, they're watching because they know that they can bootleg off you. It comes back to this idea of ethical viewing, right? Ethical viewing. I think that if you haven't made anything of value yourself, then maybe you just don't understand the integrity behind that, and I at least believe in that for other content creators. Even ones that I don't like, don't respect, you still have to respect that their IP is their IP. I think that we should respect the work of one another, and I think that mentality has been lost as new Twitch metas come out. The more that top streamers feel that they can get away with these gross infringements, the more these sentiments leak elsewhere. I mean, just the other month, I saw people wondering, why is Miskiff banned off Kick for streaming Home Alone the movie? During Christmas, I saw people saying, wait, I thought that was okay on Kick. As if Kick somehow transcends copyright law and its enforcement. Because these big streamers don't appear to get punished for these egregious infractions, people start thinking it's okay for them to do the same. Anyway, so that's the Kaceytron aspect. Then there's Frogan and Denims. So, why is Denims being sued? Well, Denims has insisted that she will go the distance and face Ethan Klein in a trial to stand up to him and be a warrior for the people. In the wake of Kaceytron settling, Denims made a tweet with what I can only guess was a means to capitalize more donations off Kaceytron's legal defeat. Denims insisted in her tweet that she did not break copyright law and that she had reacted to Ethan's video within copyright guidelines correctly. But, as Chris Kunzler puts it in this clip, it's undeniable actually in that the three people being sued were acting as an alternative to the original works.
However, this isn't the sole basis of Ethan's legal case. What Ethan has also highlighted is that each of Kaceytron, Denims and Frogan all said that they were operating as an alternative, so people didn't actually have to go and watch Ethan Klein's content. And whilst this is undeniably true,
unfortunately for anyone watching Chris's video, he makes the mistake of saying, well, isn't any React content just a replacement for the original? Doesn't anyone doing reactions just break copyright law?
Wouldn't it be fair to say that anyone who reacts to your content operates as this kind of alternative? Now, I am very grateful that Hassan watched my video. I'm grateful.
And I have to say, Chris, no, it is not that simple. There we have it. The entire premise of his video and this narrative that Ethan is just targeting women has been debunked. We'll get to Chris later. Don't you worry, girl. This is about Denims. Let's talk about Denims. While it is true to an extent that Ethan probably could sue a few more people and get more money, that is not the purpose of what is being done here. And no one infringed on his copyright quite in the same way that these three streamers did. Copyright law can be interpreted in different ways legally, and from my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, I just watched some lawyers cover this stuff. even then, things can be interpreted differently legally. And if it goes to trial, which who knows if it does, but if it goes to trial, yeah, things could go in a weird direction. When it comes to fair use and YouTube stuff, copyright isn't just about pausing a lot and making commentary. When you react to stuff, you realistically shouldn't be watching the entire video, even if you're being transformative. And another thing is that it's really important to consider with fair use is the impact on the market for the original work. Just because you're transformative doesn't automatically mean it's fair use. And as Plagiarism Today puts it, making a statement saying that you are acting as a substitute for the original and deliberately trying to deprive the creator of revenue destroys any argument they may have had. So Denim's claims that Ethan Klein's assertions of her admitting to trying to be a market replacement are incorrect, fabricated, and frivolous. You hear frivolous a lot here. It's an attempt to characterize the lawsuits and Ethan Klein as a litigious and vexatious person, utilizing the law to an extent that is a waste of time and resources for the purposes of crushing small female content creators who did nothing wrong, allegedly. However, an issue here is that if the lawsuit really was frivolous, why didn't Denim's lawyer submit a motion to dismiss? Essentially, the legal team saying that the lawsuit is so frivolous that the facts can be quickly given in order to prove it is easy to make a judgment and throw it out, and that they don't need to go further with it because it's so plain and simple. And no counterclaims were filed either, from what I know. And in a recent-ish tweet by Denim's trying to garner more donations and assure people she was going to have her day in court, she does admit that she said the following: "Well guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, or Prime if you like my content." Denim's tries to say this means that anyone watching her coverage of the nuke means they were only there for Denim's take and they never would have watched the original work anyway. Therefore, in her defense, not acting as a market substitute, she says it was merely a shill comment. But she was asking for money, therefore actively trying to monetize copyright infringement. Unfortunately for Denim's, her own tweet statement actually can contradict her argument that people were watching her stream for her only. She acknowledges in her chat live, "We're relying on you to stay live so we don't have to give the nuke views." Denim's then replied saying, "Yeah, I'm going to stream it. Since he's confirmed it's coming out today, I'm gonna stream it." Oh my god. By responding "yeah" after reading that out, it can definitely be seen as an admission of guilt. Reading out the chat is fine on its own, but her response afterwards here is what is veritably the nail in the proverbial coffin. So not only is the commenter kind of proving that the viewers aren't really there for Denim's, but Denim's response, saying she is going to stream it after they said they're relying on her to stream so they don't give Ethan views, is pretty damning stuff. Also, for her to say that absolutely no one in the 40,000 plus viewers she had that day was there to avoid giving Ethan Klein views is just an insane statement that you can't prove. When it comes to fair use with Denim's case, the fourth factor focuses on potential market substitution. It's almost akin to proving damages, right? And as Luss puts it, people can have crazy good cases, but if they can't prove damages because it's super hard to prove damages, then it's kind of an L for them. Luss didn't put it that way, I put it that way, but it's kind of an L if you can't prove damages. Fortunately, however, for Ethan's case, Denim's words have made proving damages a little bit clearer. And another thing that I don't see people bringing up too often when it comes to Denim's case is, and probably everyone else, but it's the timing of it, right? So in Denim's stream, she streamed almost the entirety, allegedly, of the H3 countdown episode, where H3 did a stream before the nuke would be posted and went live, whatever, just to like kind of hype it up, I guess, and be like, hey guys, we're gonna do it live, and then we're gonna do then you can watch the nuke to kind of not cannibalize views from their own video, right? Denim's then streamed the nuke right after it was uploaded which is also a really damaging aspect to this case. Then it's kind of about establishing whether she did that with malice or just pure negligence. If she had waited, it could come under fair use, but by reacting to it as soon as it was freshly uploaded, that makes it so much worse for her. And finally, again, I'm not a lawyer. I got my information from articles and YouTube lawyers, so, you know. Additionally, I would like to remind people that Ethan is also currently involved in a class action lawsuit involving Nvidia, Meta, let's just call it Facebook. Come on, let's be real. And ByteDance, you know, TikTok. I actually don't know what's going on with TikTok at the moment. All very wealthy companies that allegedly used scraping bots to train their AI off YouTube creator videos. This class action lawsuit is about copyright infringement, so the people saying that Ethan just doesn't actually care about copyright and he's just suing women for funsies, no, he's not. If you want to learn more about the legalities of Denim's and Frogan's cases, even if you want to look at Casey's, even though she's finished, you should watch Lust on YouTube. He really breaks it down quite simply. He's a copyright lawyer. They're short, informative videos. I mean, you could almost call them fast facts. To summarize how the future of the lawsuit against Denims could go is it could be from now on, it's going into discovery, some legal back and forth, arguments, rebuttal, then maybe summary judgment rather than going to trial, but I suppose anything could happen though, I'm not really too sure. That's kind of what I heard on the grapevine with that. So now we move on to Kat Tenbarge, the esteemed journalist. Contrary to what Kat Tenbarge has written about Ethan, there are actually some valid grounds for the lawsuits that have been submitted, and we have gone through them. We have sifted through all that information, but first, when it comes to Kat Tenbarge, the esteemed journalist, you need to know about what she has written about Ethan Klein and his lawsuits, and how she frames it as a war on women. Kat Tenbarge writes, and I quote, Klein continued to be so mad at Piker for being anti-Israel that he decided to sue 3 women about it. He filed lengthy, typo-ridden lawsuits. Hi, Editor Kate here. So I wanted to mention that typos in lawsuits are really not that weird to see, and I think Kat Tenbarge should know better than to add this kind of phrasing, because she's obviously saying it to try and say something to discredit the lawsuits that Ethan had made and his lawyer had written up. Just because they have typos in it doesn't mean that they're any less, you know, powerful or whatever you want to call it. And Kat Tenbarge should know this because I read the lawsuits between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, and both of those lawsuits also had typos in them. Typos are not that uncommon. Emily D. Baker even mentioned it in one of her streams that typos just happen, okay? It's not this like, holy shit, he has typos in his lawsuit type deal. For copyright infringement against female Twitch streamers who reacted to a nearly 2-hour video Klein made about Piker in January, which he has since revealed was a trap to try and sue Piker for streaming the copyrighted content on his channel. Piker didn't do it, but these women did, so Klein sued them instead. Again, to summarize, the lawsuits are suing based on the creators advertising themselves as a market replacement for the works. That's copyright infringement, point blank. People like XQC and Asmongold are not being sued because they never spoke outright about trying to circumvent views, therefore money to the original works. Yes, they are not known for their transformative reactions. Well, I don't know about Asmongold, but however, copyright infringement and fair use is not solely dependent on being transformative. This we know. There's only so many people you can sue at once, I guess. It is funny to me that an article supposedly about a man and his ruthless attacks on women starts off describing the feud between Ethan and Hassan, going into great detail first and foremost about their ethnicities, Ethan's history using the N-word. Last time I checked, Hassan is not a woman, but I digress. There is this narrative that Ethan is suing these 3 streamers on the basis that they're close to Hassan and that harming them may directly or indirectly harm Hassan, who we all know Ethan has beef with. I guess the idea these journalists keep bringing up is that if these women struggle with their lawsuits, Daddy Hassan will come in, save the day, or something like that. They keep saying this was always Ethan's intentions, but then they say actually the intention was always to sue Hassan directly and the women just got caught in the crossfire. I think it's funny to me that the core argument about this is really just about another man. Yet somehow it's about actually hating on women in particular. Great writing there, really fantastic stuff. When it comes to the entrapment argument, people claim that because Ethan encouraged Hassan to watch the content nuke, he secretly hoped Hassan would do a poor reaction to it, giving him grounds to sue Hassan and gain some sort of legal vengeance against him. These people love pointing out how rich Ethan is, but they don't really talk about how it makes zero sense to even try to entrap and sue Hassan. Hassan also has lots of money, and a lawsuit would probably be a breeze for him. I don't really understand how these people think Ethan would be owning him that way, and they don't really try too hard to explain that either. The content nuke was registered with the Library of Congress before it was released, and Ethan did it without announcing he had registered it.
Tell you guys now, I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker content nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating? Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite.
Doing this makes proving copyright easier. Even though you have automatic copyright to your work, having it like pre-registered is just like makes it smoother for you. What Ethan really says is that he knew people would watch the video, react to it, and try to circumvent views from him.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prompt.
Namely, I'm assuming he knew Snark would try to do this, so more on that later. However, Ethan says he never believed Hassan would act the same way. He's not that stupid. Hassan would never outright say that his stream is a material replacement for viewing the original works. He also wouldn't try to outright monetize copyright infringement. That is really key here when it comes to the lawsuits, especially Denim's case. So, Tenbarge saying Ethan made the video to solely trap Hassan with a legal trap is really quite silly to me. Really seems like a baseless claim that was probably sourced from Twitter. And why do I think that? Because Tenbarge continues her article about Ethan, sourcing her opinion from Twitter, saying that Ethan Klein himself doesn't believe the lawsuits are legitimate. This is them trying to argue that he's a frivolous, litigious asshat. All because of a 30-second clip of him saying, "No shot, the suit against Frogan goes to court." The real context of this clip is that Ethan reckoned his case is so strong, Frogan would no doubt settle before a court date could even come close.
But there's no shot this gets to jury. You guys will see. These are the most slam dunk cases delivered to me on a silver platter. They're going to be begging me. Once she gets a lawyer to look at this, he's going to be like, dude, you need to settle this. Really.
Do they have money to settle? I was talking, me and Dan were talking.
Great journalistic skills there, Kat. Sourcing clips that are made to insinuate a sinister meaning when in reality, whoever believes that is either dumb as a bag of rocks or is just interpreting everything in the most malicious way possible to reinforce their already made worldview. If this woman considers herself a journalist and sources Twitter all day long in her articles, then I guess I can kind of call myself one too. Then, after detailing all this stuff about Hassan and Ethan having a centuries-old feud at this point, Kat then makes the article about Zohran Mamdani and Donald Trump? Like, in the middle of the article, talking about Ethan Klein and his women issues, supposedly. I get that at this point in time, the bombing of nuclear facilities in Iran is probably a big newsworthy deal, right? But this doesn't seem like a very professional thing when it comes to writing. Do you often just write an article about a topic and then insert something completely different into it for a moment and then get back to the main topic when there's seemingly no relevance at all? Hey guys! I just have to interrupt this video about Ethan Klein and misogyny because we got news in the MLP fandom. Apparently apparently the entire My Little Pony brand is getting an incredibly massive reboot in 2027. According to this website, equestriadaily.com, 2026 is being titled as the Year of the Pony. Yes, this does mean that the My Little Pony hiatus did get just a little bit longer. There might be some really cool stuff for MLP in 2026, but guys, listen, mark your calendars down, 2027 is going to be a blast. 2027 will be a post Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni trial year, as well as My Little Pony revival. So, stay tuned for more pony talk, randomly peppered throughout this video, and then back to Ethan Klein and misogyny, folks. OnlyFans misogyny. Here's where Kat Tenbarge's journalistic credits really shine through. Truly a marvel of a journalist. She then talks about how Ethan Klein's lawsuits feed into the misogynistic ecosystem of Twitch and complains that someone online told Denims to make an OnlyFans to pay for the fees. Bitch. Denims has had an OnlyFans since 2022. Denims has been making a bag off her body and looks forever. And Denims herself made a tweet joking about slutting it up due to the lawsuit. Granted, that tweet did come after the article was publicized, but Denims having an OnlyFans has been a long time thing. I think by Kat's logic, Denims herself kind of a misogynist for being the one to actually be making a joke about having to slut it up in order to pay for her lawsuit, as if to say that as a woman, the only way she can earn enough finances to fight a lawsuit is to do OnlyFans? I mean, couldn't she just start making more content, branching out, doing more collabs? I mean, she has a following, I guess. She has a community. Why default to joking about OnlyFans? That mentality, even if it's a joke, still influences women, particularly young women, who are vulnerable, the most vulnerable, to impulsively entering the sex industry based on the fear of aging out before making millions. The unfortunate truth, and we've spoken a lot about it here, is that most girls who enter the sex industry are not successful. This joke is made on the idea that as long as you're a woman, and average to good looking, you can always fall back on creating pornography and exposing your body to the internet and you'll be okay financially. I mean, it's demeaning. And making these sorts of jokes, especially Denims, of all people, is directly feeding into misogyny. Denims can have an OnlyFans. I'm not here to tell her no. I'm not her mother. All the more power to her, I really don't care. I don't think having an OnlyFans should open you up to being objectified and people summing you up just on your looks. I don't think that should be the thing. I don't think society should be like that. But honestly, what does it have to do with Ethan Klein? He didn't tell her to start OnlyFans or to advertise herself as slutting it up, but Kat Tenbarge is seemingly trying to blame the online attitude towards Denims and, I guess, women on Twitch as being fueled by Ethan Klein. It really is, it is just that plain stupid. When you enter the porn business, or even if it's just lewds and not even hardcore porn, you are entering that industry hopefully with the knowledge that it's heavily frowned upon by the exact same people who consume it the most insatiably. No, it's not right that people are telling her to just sell her looks or to pay for the lawsuit. It's not right that people are calling her a haram OnlyFans whore. Sadly, it kind of is just what comes with the territory, particularly on the internet, where people can spout whatever they want and click away and forget about the impact they had on another person. That's not me saying we should just accept it, but as adults, and I have to reiterate, we're all adults here, we have to realize we make decisions, and unfortunately some outcomes are just completely out of our power and control. Whether you give those opinions and comments credence on your life and how you live it is ultimately up to you, and that's just my opinion. How on earth Kat Tenbarge tries to link that to Ethan Klein is just watery at best. Listen, Kat, if you want to make an article complaining about the attitude towards women who do OnlyFans, porns, lewds, etc., then make a fucking article about it. Don't try to link it to Ethan Klein because someone on Twitter made a mean tweet at somebody. I mean, I understand Ethan is a good headliner, and that's great and all, but I'm definitely going to be critiquing this point heavily because it's stupid as fuck. And finally, Kat continues to coddle these women by saying, these women haven't meaningfully threatened Klein's powerful position on YouTube, the millions of views he gets, his millionaire status. Sorry to interrupt, Kat, but the lawsuit is about copyright infringement. Apparently, Kat wants to do her journalistic integrity and label them as frivolous based on tweets she saw, and doesn't want to interface with the lawsuits and their allegations in good faith. Chris Kunzler must be Harry Potter because if Kat Tenbarge is a journalist, magic has to exist. Chris Kunzler. God, it sounds awful saying his last name. Let's just call him Discount Harry Potter, why don't we? So, Discount Harry Potter made a whole 1-hour video and many more videos detailing Ethan Klein and his miserable world of misogyny, sourcing Kat Tenbarge's article as, I guess, a reason for making his video. I'm glad we broke down Kat's article first, so you can know how good this is gonna be. Harry Potter paints a wonderful picture of Ethan and Ela on an expensive vacation where Ethan spends the entire time on his phone posting stories threatening people with lawsuits. He seems so confident about it, and he really does confidently say a lot of stuff, not just in this video, in a lot of his videos. But there's just some things I have to call into question here. I mean, no one will talk about how Ethan went to Hawaii recently and he didn't post at all. I don't know, man. I mean, even then, posting to your story takes like all of 2 minutes to do. But these people act like it's extremely time consuming. Like, what are you posting to your story that makes you think it's this difficult? If we want to talk about posting a lot, I mean, Chris, you too post a lot about Ethan Klein and I get it. You get way more views when you talk about streamers and drama. And I'd be the last person to judge you for that. Ethan talking about drama circling his orbit isn't a weird, odd, psychosexual fetish as you people like to put it. I don't know why it's just fine if you do it, but if it's Ethan, then it's a crash out. Someone posting about Donald Trump all day long is just staying informed. Ethan posting about people alluding to him being a real pedophile or a woman hater. Ooh, Ethan's having another moment, guys. Time to take your pills, man. Chris talks about Ethan bullying journalists like young woman Taylor Lorenz and Kat Tenbarge, but is it really bullying when these people are just lying about you so outright?
He is seeking to target female content creators who are already and have long been subjected to misogynist and racist hate.
Is it bullying to be replying to things that people are saying about you? And why do we have to do this whole thing where they're like smaller creators and therefore they shouldn't be talked about? What's up with that? These men like Chris and Alex Novell keep defending these women, essentially saying they can't handle the heat of being an online creative, going after someone with a larger audience. Then maybe don't do that shit. And journalists, for some reason, have become very comfortable with just saying things and not expecting consequences. Again, Chris says Ethan is being misogynistic to appease his new right-wing audience when, I'm sorry, and I'm very sorry to say this, but to be honest, H3 has not been gaining followers nor viewership. What new audience are we talking about here exactly, mate? H3 has been shedding the audience that overlapped with Hassan and Trisha, and probably some longtime fans here and there who kind of just miss when H3 was about being silly and jolly. So, what is Chris's evidence exactly that Ethan has a new misogynistic audience? Well, it's the fact that people like Asmongold and Tectone watch his videos and support him?
Don't believe me? Just listen to the words of Asmongold.
This is the best content influence since Step for Third. It will be if it goes to trial.
Chris goes on to say that this is proof. Proof of what exactly? Because a prominent streamer is suing other people in the creator space over copyright, which will be relevant to everyone in the online creator space, because this is big news. Chris fails to mention the myriad of different people from different political views covering the lawsuits and enjoying the content being made out of it. If a right-winger was being sued, all these people would be foaming at the mouths, making content out of it too. Chris says Ethan's lawsuits are about punishing women, yet Ethan and Kaceytron have actually settled now. If Ethan really wanted to destroy women and silence them, then why would he settle when he has a clear case against her? He could have gone scorched earth on her. Why is that? So Harry Potter also states that Ethan has undeniably supported the genocide of Gazans and Palestinians. Does he give evidence for this claim here? Any support here? No. And he also, again, blames this on why Ethan is suing the people he's suing. Right. Chris then goes on a really long rant about Tectone, trying to link him as though he's great buddies with Ethan. Chris even admits that Ethan said Tectone is not a great guy, and Chris continues by basically saying, well, that wasn't enough of a disavowalment from Ethan. I honestly had to pause when Chris first mentioned Tectone because Ethan has spoken very little of Tectone. I couldn't even really think of a time when Ethan had talked about Tectone. And honestly, he probably only mentioned him because he reacted to the lawsuits.
Ethan has mentioned Tectone 2 times on his podcast. He said that maybe he's not a great guy, but that's really it. He hasn't bothered to go in depth about these allegations.
So what's happened here is that actually Love was the one who said that he thinks Tectone is not a good guy, but they're not really aware of the allegations. Even Ethan says he got done for some weird stuff, but they're not really that sure about it. The reason why they didn't go that in depth into it is because they're just on the spot. They're just talking about stuff, and that's kind of all there is to it. Could they have gone deeper into it? Yeah, they could have gone deeper into it. I'm sure if they had more of an idea about this Tectone guy, they probably would have been like, whoa, that's not good. And another thing is that Ethan is not talking about people like Asmongold and Tectone hyping him up. Ethan is talking about how the left and people like Denims, people like Frogan, all these people were hyping up the nuke and saying, hey, the nuke's dropped, let's watch it. This is the promotion that he was talking about. He's not talking about people like Asmongold and Tectone. I don't know, Chris, if you hate Tectone so much, why don't you just make a fucking video about it at this point? It's like, I get the feeling that like Chris wants to be like a drama YouTuber. He wants to be someone who does like videos on people like Tectone, but because his channel is all about like politics and talking about like, you know, whatever, I think that when he makes these Ethan Klein videos, it gives him the opportunity to actually talk about these people he really wants to talk. Listen, Chris, you have my permission. I'm giving you the permission. You can make drama content if you want to. It doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you pathetic. It doesn't make you a bad person. I know you want to do the whole like politics thing, but it feels like to me, like, let yourself be free. You can do drama. It's okay. Please, make a Tectone video. Please. Like, Chris makes this whole thing, like this whole song and dance about how Ethan didn't like go hard enough on Tectone, or he didn't say enough, and it's like, in the first place, he didn't even name Tectone. The one time I found him mentioning Tectone, he didn't even mention him by name. He just said the guy with the deep voice, who is in OTK. Gripping endorsement, by the way. That's fantastic. I don't think it's really Ethan Klein's responsibility to make an entire podcast week about someone he doesn't care about just because you're upset. If you don't like Tectone, you make a video on it. Which you clearly tried to do here. He spent so much time just whining about Tectone, Nicholas Diorio, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, Asmongold. Somehow trying to tie it all back to, like, as evidence that Ethan Klein is now a right-winger. It's like, buddy, if you want to prove to people that Ethan and Asmongold are best buddies, perhaps find a better snippet of evidence that isn't just them reacting to one another, as these content creators often do. All the time. All of them do it. Your pathetic examples really make you look like a terrible and unreliable misinformation machine. Which makes sense because you seemingly co-sign people like young woman Taylor Lorenz and Kat Tenbarge. Which, as we know with Kat Tenbarge's article, is not a good look. Then goes on to further talk about Ethan Klein and his history, and compares it to Hassan's history. Hassan gets a pass for saying that he always knew Hannah Montana was a little slut, because he was in his 20s, and it was a joke. Ethan Klein doesn't get that because he was still in his 20s, but I guess closer to 30 technically. So I guess Ethan Klein doesn't get the pass, or that he was young and joking. Okay. The Boston bombing video I'm gonna keep. It's a pretty easily summarized thing, and it's also something that has kind of exploded in popularity as like a point against Ethan, and there are some things that I definitely agree about. So Chris mentions the infamous Boston bombing video that Ethan Klein had made, which he deleted in, I think, 2016. He has profusely apologized for the video and what he said, and he also has never made anything like it since, so he has clearly grown from it. For context though, Chris says Ethan made sexual remarks towards a minor. That is in fact not true. Your Honor, she was 18. Does that make it okay? No! But being factually correct does matter. Words that you say, especially when you make allegations like that, are important. Words have meaning. Don't you know this, Chris? You're a graduate. Also, I don't know if Chris is aware, but the clipped moment where Ethan is making some really chauvinistic, disgusting remarks about the girl and her camel toe, Ethan is making a satirical joke about the subreddit r/braveryjerk. 12 years ago, r/braveryjerk was a place where people mocked other Redditors for making a standpoint based on how edgy they could be, instead of merit. Since then, it has transformed into an almost incomprehensible inside joke about I don't even know what it's about, to be honest. I looked up so many things trying to explain what r/braveryjerk is, and I still don't really get it. But today, you can still look at the Reddit post that is featured in this Ethan Klein video. You can literally read the comments that inspired the video, and they're disgusting. While this video Ethan made was definitely in poor taste, it didn't convey the message he wanted to convey in really the brightest form. His intentions were to highlight the disgusting and atrocious comments that were being made. Again, it was not a well-made video, and no one in the H3 universe likes that video or even wants more of that. So are we going to keep up bringing shit from 12 to 15 years ago, or can we find something more recent to talk about? Cruel World Happy Mind. Vulnerable young woman, small creator. People like Alex Novell have started to include Madison Harnish of Cruel World Happy Mind as another victim of Ethan Klein's misogyny. The reason being is that Ethan called her out and defended himself from her poorly made hit piece video. A few things that made Madison's video particularly malicious in my point of view is Madison rehashing age-old H3 controversies that have been long debunked for no reason other than to pad her AdSense runtime, in my opinion. Because why else are you bringing up stuff that's already been resolved? Madison, please tell me what the point is of bringing up the FUPA fund and the conspiracy theory that Ethan and Hila embezzled the fund. When it comes down to it, it's been long disproven, explained, talked about, and even the likes of Keemstar apologizing for perpetuating the idea. Please tell me why we're bringing up Frenemies' money split and the 5% meme in 2025 when it has been explained. Makes perfect sense. Was also extremely reasonable for a deal, and also Trisha said she was okay with it. I mean, more on that in part 2, I guess. Please tell me, Madison, why you said things like Ethan is clearly spiking in paranoia and therefore wrongfully believes there's a campaign against him, and that instead he should have been unlearning the programming that he has had since birth?
You know, I think that Ethan's paranoia clearly started to spike. He started to believe that people were working against him. Instead of unlearning the sort of programming that he had been sort of brought up within, he started to believe that others were working against him. And a huge part of that was the CPS incident, I believed. And so while I think that much of it was likely an exaggeration, in my own opinion, I could also see where Ethan started to believe that from just gathering random clips off the internet of people saying things, spreading it online, starting to believe that there's a harassment campaign against him.
People will defend her, saying that her calling him programmed since birth simply because he's a Jewish American man is fine because, well, aren't all Jews somewhat brought up with a pro-Israeli sentiment? I mean, you really could not say this about any other ethnicity or race without getting severe backlash.
Ideals that have been sort of programmed into him from when he was born.
Okay, you're Nazi.
When he was
you're
born?
like a fucking.
He
You're
wasn't
like a,
born in
I first of all,
But like, would this not be a thing that is like not reasonable? That like young Jewish people are undeniably moved towards supporting Israel. Adam Friedland has spoken about this. I don't think that came from a position of anti-Semitism. So many people have spoken about this. The way in which they grow up and are being taught to support Israel. And sorry, I hope you're okay, Silent Scythe.
Ethan has said tons over his career about how he disliked being a Jew more than celebrating it, about how his family kind of didn't even bother that much with the celebrations and all the formalities and the traditions. Ethan went on Birthright because he was suffering from intense depression and social anxiety, and so he thought going somewhere would get him out of his shell and make him feel better, and Birthright was essentially a free holiday. That is my understanding of it anyway. It's so funny to me how we get these crazy assumptions about Ethan being programmed from birth to supposedly love Israel when Trisha Paytas, just a year ago or so, was literally being paid to promote Israel. There is currently a reality show in Israel right now, ish. Maybe it stopped airing now, maybe it's finished now, but it has Trisha and Moses celebrating Israel and the culture. Sure, she's blurred in it now, but it's legit crazy that people excuse Trisha's obsession with Jews in Israel, and people excuse Trisha saying she's pro-Israel when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict, or I guess genocide. She says it multiple times on camera that she's pro-Israel. I mean, how can you not find the sentiment towards Ethan and Hila anti-Semitic? And it's like also saying someone's programmed from birth on the basis of just because they're Jewish. It just feels wrong to assume that about somebody just based on, like, I don't know, their religion or their ethnicity or whatever you want to call it. Just seems kind of wrong to me. Also, Madison, I think it's pretty misogynistic to make a whole segment in your hit piece video about how someone in your eyes dresses childlike to appease the pedophilic urges of their husband, and then you yourself also dress in a childish manner. Talk about a hypocrite. Then taking snarky posts about Hila's fashion wear, and yes, they are snark posts. It's not just a pejorative term here, that is just what it is. Just to shit on the way that they look and dress. I mean, Madison, you are giving mean girl. And me calling you a mean girl doesn't make me a misogynist or a sexist. I'm just calling it as I see it. It's what it says on the tin.
You didn't say in this video that the problem became Ethan's Reddit account. That's not what was said here. You said you have a problem with how I dress.
Again, I should have
You just said now that this is funny.
More in depth.
Is it just making fun of the dress she's wearing?
I think that the photo was added in because it was seen as funny. And
What
the
do
person
you
that
think?
edited it.
I'm asking you, what do you think?
But you're asking
Do you
what
think
I
this
think.
picture,
Yeah, what's funny
what
about
I'm
it?
wearing is funny? Do you think I'm dressed like a pedophile? I don't understand. What is your point?
Yeah, I think that I think that if you're asking me what my specific viewpoint is on that particular outfit, do I think it's like really trendy right now? No, I don't think it's really trendy right now.
Okay.
Do I think
It's not
like,
trendy?
So the point is that I'm
I
out
don't
of
know.
trend. That would be a different video.
That's
Sure, you
like-
can make that video that I'm not trending.
I don't know.
enough.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Sure.
So this is another,
you know,
your
kind of
editor
a-
kind of sneaking one in on you again?
it's a bit of a straw man, but if you want to talk about that particular photo, yeah, we can go
Wait,
in
what?
depth
Sorry,
about
what's a straw man?
that outfit. The photo itself.
The photo is in your video. How is that a straw man?
I mean, yeah, no, but if we want to debate the specifics of that photo itself, we can talk about that, you know. But if we want to talk about the sentiment that I discussed and, you know, why I meant that and why I think I should have expanded more on that, so it wasn't, you know, taken out of context, we can discuss that as well.
These are the looks, by the way, you included in your research to say that her clothing is childlike and quote unquote interesting. So, like, I mean,
Yeah, I would
the
say
blue
that is
face
childlike
one?
and
The
interesting.
blue face is my artistic impression and how I interpreted famous art that I was inspired by. The other ones are Y2K inspired.
Yeah, and again, I would commend that for being fashion forward and everything.
Okay.
Like I said, you know, Ethan's past comments simply, in my opinion, sort of undermined the
just to be clear, we're
wholesomeness.
talking about 15-year-old accounts posted from an account with the name troll in the name.
Yeah, and
Just
you know,
to be clear,
the,
so
and
that's
there's been
the
some
part
other
that
consistent jokes
that
and-
ruins the current day, that makes you suspicious of us in current day. Is just to
I
be
wouldn't
clear,
say-
is there
again, I
other
wouldn't
ones,
say
or is it
I'm
just the
suspicious.
15-year-old Reddit account?
Madison can deflect all she wants, blame her editor, blame her writer, blame whoever it is. It's her own video on her channel that she is responsible for. The next part about Madison is that after debating her hit piece with Ethan on H3, she made a whole song and dance about being caught off guard, not expecting a debate, feeling like Ethan went really hard on her, etc, etc. And then men like Alex Novell fell on their sword to white knight the poor girl. Like, let's ignore the fact that Madison acknowledged the debate was one live on stream.
And also what's the most, like, valid, you know, again, which is what we're sort of debating here very kindly and politely, and I appreciate that. But, you know, so, yeah, that's...
Let's ignore the very fun giggling she did at Ethan's jokes.
Hey,
all right, Ethan, I'm asking to end this. I'm asking...
You can leave anytime.
Many people were really disappointed with the way that Trisha...
Yeah, I have to raise a great point of contention that you made me sound way too chipmunky. And if you ever include me again, I promise I won't claim you. Just don't make me sound like a chipmunk.
Deal.
Okay, great. We're on the same page there.
Haters handled the fallout and how they pretty much turned.
She really didn't have that hard of a time. And when she told her sad story about her brother unfortunately drowning in Hawaii right after October 7th happened, Ethan and Hila were very kind and understanding. When she told a sob story about her family and like drug abuse or someone who's addicted to meth and very high functioning meth addict, again, like everyone listened, everyone felt bad for her. I mean, perhaps she just should not have gone on H3. I don't think anyone was forcing her to do it. Alex Novell. Alex Novell is another male content creator who is running with the theme of Ethan going after women who have smaller subscriber counts.
Here is not to establish some kind of new precedent for copyright law. It's just to inflict the same trauma and public embarrassment that he received from Ryan Kavanaugh onto his own enemies, who are, again, mostly women creators who have smaller subscriber counts than him.
This weird white knighting from Alex and Chris, and I'm sure more to come later, is very curious to me. I would say someone like Cruel World Happy Mind is actually quite a big creator with 650,000 subscribers, pretty close to 1 million. That's pretty significant. Taylor Lorenz with 238,000 subscribers just on her YouTube channel, again, that's pretty significant. Alex himself, however, only seems to have 46,000 subscribers, which is still a good number. I mean, yeah, it's like average sized, I guess. I don't mean to compare numbers because if we're gonna be real here, Alex, you're the small bean baby. But if I'm gonna be real with you guys, I mean, I myself only have like 1,000 subscribers. So I'm not trying to say anything about like, ooh, they have way more than you. It's like, well, everyone here has way more than me, so, you know. But I'm just trying to make a point here about like how I feel like size, Alex, size doesn't matter. When XQC watched my video criticizing him, I probably only had like 200 subs at the time, but I didn't whine and moan about having no followers. I think the only small bean woman content creator here is maybe Kat Tenbarge. Even then, according to public information online, Kat was an NBC reporter full-time from 2022 to 2025. That's a pretty good job. That's pretty big. She was also a reporter for Business Insider at one point. So Kat, I would say, Kat was probably the only reporter to take the David Dobrik vlog squad rape allegations very seriously and put it in a noteworthy news website. I do think it was Kat's reporting, I think, that really helped lead to the fallout of David and the Vlog Squad. I don't think Kat is a tiny itty bitty baby that needs men to rush to her defense. These women are not the small potato, defenseless baby birds that people like Alex and Chris keep infantilizing them to be like. Dating and Money 101 only has 1,200 subscribers, yet no one is rushing to his defense and calling him a small bean boy. Ethan went after Dating and Money multiple times, having an argument on stream with him. Nobody cared. It's almost like this particular leniency towards women is rooted in pure sexism. It's the idea that a woman cannot fend for herself, that these women are being needlessly harassed by men like Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein just simply responding to things that they said about him. And this is why Alex Novell, his whole section in my video, is going to be so brief, because this is just an example of how his video on Ethan is just particularly flagrant with bad faith arguments. I don't even know the name of the other guy in Alex's video, but he says stuff like Ethan imagined the copyright infringement. It's all in his mind.
Ethan has kind of used that, you know, these women did this, you know, copyright abuse in his mind as kind of like a way to shoo off any of the criticisms of misogyny.
Pretty much sums up everything you need to know about Alex Novell's video. So here's my conclusion for part 1. To finish, let's recap. CPS was called on the Kleins in an attempt to take away their children, and the Kleins have good reason to suspect that snarkers did it. Human real skulls were sent to their house, somehow by an unknown person through a third party that sells human anatomy for schools and education, which resulted in the FBI getting involved. Someone threatened to stab Love when he was out in public just for working with H3.
Like, I have a story. I went to this thing, like this event in LA with my dad,
you get this,
my girlfriend, and a friend. And then on the night after, I come home to a message on Instagram saying, I saw you here and here.
Oh, I saw that.
I saw you here, and you were wearing Teddy Fresh. It'd be a shame if someone came up and stabbed you in the back while you were Teddy Fresh.
And Snark have continuously tried to get his working visa taken away, reporting him to ICE.
They tried to, they fabricated a whole like movement to try to get me deported at some point too.
They're trying to get you to, these people have no limit.
With like complete bullshit stuff in it.
Yeah, everything we did was completely above the board to get your work visa, which is why I personally wasn't worried about it. I know you, rightfully so,
it's just scary when there's like hundreds and hundreds of people like sending messages to the government and
and the most disgusting.
Yeah, it's scary.
Or like 5 or 6 with hundreds of email accounts,
right?
Which often was the case.
I just laugh when I see like on FOMO.
Talk about frivolous. People like the Joe Mahars and Kaceytron of the creator space harassed Olivia to the point where she got very depressed and had to take a mental health leave. AB almost left the show, again, due to the unending harassment online permeating everything he did, calling him Ethan's Arab house slave, people making claims he's pro-Israel, despite AB raising a tremendous amount of money for Palestinians, and his father literally bringing 73 Palestinian families to the US through his humanitarian work. It really doesn't feel like this is about saving Palestine anymore. Ethan and Hila get harassed in public about their take on Israel-Palestine when they've stated they're pro-Palestine for years.
Back again.
All right. Hey, look, we got a question for you.
Sure.
We already know what your answer is.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
what is your stance on Palestine?
I love it.
You love Palestine?
Yeah, I love Palestine.
You went to Israel, though. You support Netanyahu.
No, I don't.
Ethan and Hila voted against the right-wing government 2 times when they lived in Israel. They lived in Israel for 5 years. No matter what they say, what they do, it'll never be enough, it'll never be the right thing, and if they do say the right thing, they will just simply be called liars. If they raise or donate money, it's not enough. It's never enough. It's just to save face. If they're scared about the world they're living in, they're just paranoid. I don't think Ethan and Hila are wrong for calling these people out, because so far, I've not really seen any good points to be made that aren't just based on either malicious misinformation or negligent coverage. It's hard to believe that people like Chris Kunzler, Kat Tenbarge, Madison, Alex are all just ill-informed somehow. While I won't tell you who to like or who to hate, I think that the chronic mislabeling of people is getting out of hand. And I think that the extremely poor journalism and political coverage these creators are doing is actively harming their message and ability to do real good in the world. Kat Tenbarge, for example, has done good work in the past. Her coverage of the lively Baldoni conflict was actually quite good, I thought, and it really makes you wonder how she could write such a terrible article about Ethan riddled with issues, conveniently leaving out information like the copyright merits. How do you do that? This idea of ethical viewership where people are obsessed with voting with their views is just making them more susceptible to misinformation, and I should know, I was right there in it when I watched Hassan and I was a Hassan fan. It's unfortunate because I do believe in voting with your wallet. I believe that boycotts are a powerful thing when people can unite together, but when it comes to information and making your mind up about someone or even something, you realistically should be doing the work yourself. That sadly means sometimes viewing a person's channel or video when you might dislike them. I think that when it comes to the online space and creators, voting with your views doesn't really work, and it's in part because general audiences who have full-time jobs, kids, lives to worry about, lives outside of the internet, are not up to speed on what the latest controversy is. And some people just don't even care. If voting with your views really worked, someone like Keemstar shouldn't have a career, right? Amblin Reed would be struggling to get views and donations. When it comes to H3, the public's view on them isn't wholly agreed upon. Whether you agree with Ethan's take about a two-state solution, Netanyahu needing to leave, West Bank settlers being valid military targets, you should agree that involving his children is not the answer. Threatening H3 employees with physical violence is just stupid and doesn't solve anything. Harassing people to the point where they get very depressed is not saving Palestinians. This video isn't meant to be about Israel and the genocide of Palestinians, and there are much better creators out there who you can watch who will do a far better coverage of it than I can. I believe in the Palestinians being free. The amount of pain and suffering that Palestinians have endured is really unimaginable for people like us living in the Western world. However, this video is meant to be about misogyny and whether Ethan Klein is a woman hater or not, and so far, I really haven't found anything that convincing. These people have tried to make an argument for something that I just don't think is so far really there. Do I think Ethan Klein is a misogynist? Well, this is only part 1, isn't it? So, there's more to come next week for part 2.